So for people that join on. I'll start chatting anyway. Hope you can hear us alright. At a near empty city ground at the moment. Away day blues for Newcastle United has almost been a constant throughout this campaign. To go back to September for the win at Sheffield United, and win at Manchester United, of course, in there in the cup. But it's been pretty grim apart from that this season. And tonight, Newcastle United just went and won, having won at Fulham last month, and won at Aston Villa. It's a fantastic result, a really, really fantastic result. Thanks everyone for joining in. Keep your comments coming in and have a chat. Haven't done live for a little while. I've been off work ill with a chest infection recently, so apologies if my voice gets a little bit hoarse, but we'll soldier on. I'm sure there'll be quite a lot of people who are housed in that stand there today who will have hoarse voices after backing the team today, particularly they enjoyed themselves at the end. I'm just having a little wander here around the main stand at the City Ground. It's a nice old-fashioned ground, actually. I enjoy coming here. I used to live in Nottingham years ago in a different life. I used to come here and cover for the Football League when I was a Cub reporter, so I do quite enjoy coming to this ground, and it also helps when you win. That's 2 wins on the bounce here. One, of course, Guimaraes-inspired last season. Very, very much Bruno Guimaraes-inspired this time around. Through the game, let's have a think about the game itself. I'm going to be brutally honest. Do I feel like there were any real questions answered today with the problems that Newcastle United have within their team and why they find themselves just off the pace slightly in the run for European football? I don't really feel like I've come away having watched that game that there are any more answers to the questions posed. But the result matters a lot, and it was a good result. I think there were moments in that game where Newcastle United could have managed things much better. I thought there was a real tactical nuance to Eddie Howe's setup. We've seen Kieran Trippier going into the middle quite a bit, Lewis Smiley playing deeper, and Bruno Guimaraes playing much more advanced, and shock horror, in a midfield three that isn't really working. I suppose it was good to see that midfield nuance, and it had a lot of control for the first 15 to 20, and it was a promising start, but lost a lot of control after that. But it was nice to see Eddie Howe try something like that, and I didn't think it had a minor impact on the game early doors. But the midfield thing, playing Bruno a little bit further forward, we've seen what he can do in those final 20 minutes at Luton, where he looked to create things. Put him further forward, he's got the quality to win games. And look, he had a gift wrap goal in many ways, the third one from Matt Sells, who dives all around it and does anything but save it. A minor point on this one as well. If Nuno Espirito Santo thinks Matt Sells is the answer to anybody's problems in a goalkeeping department, and he's sadly mistaken. That Matt Sells that we just seen today didn't look any better than the one we've seen in the Championship in Newcastle United, and everybody knows how poor he was back then. But anyway, I think Bruno, if you get him in positions and give him an opportunity to make a difference in the final third, he can do that, much more so than Lewis Miley and Sean Longstaff. So it does make sense in many ways to almost sacrifice one of those two, who neither of those two really want to play in that sort of deeper role. But it makes more sense to stick one of them in the deeper role to allow Bruno to make things happen, and it might just create chances. I say about questions, look, I might sound negative, but I think, you've got to analyse these things. I think Newcastle are 13 when it comes to goals conceded in the Premier League this season. There's only Manchester City and Liverpool scored more goals than them this season in the Premier League. That tells a big story. That every week now, Newcastle are having to score 3 and 4 goals to get a result. Is it entertaining? Yes. Is it great for the neutral? Yes. But I don't really think it does a massive amount for the heart rate of black and white people with black and white blood running through their veins, like myself and like many other people, like I say, who were in this stadium as well, down there over in that corner, and were very vocal. It's a problem. It's a defensive problem that doesn't really seem to have any answers. A lot of focus this week on Dan Burn. I want to have a little say on the Dan Burn thing. I think I seen it catched by many people in the media, in our media fraternity, that it was Dan Burn criticism. I never seen much Dan Burn criticism. I don't really believe it was Dan Burn criticism. I think it was more criticism of Eddie Howe continuing to select a player against fast wingers and play with a really narrow out of the ball four, where Burn gets dragged inside because he has to do the same thing on the other side, but is much more adept at doing it. So I didn't think, and I would say that first goal today that they conceded was really like a culmination. It wasn't necessarily Byrne's fault. I think Miley was poor in allowing the attack to start with Gibbs White. And Martin Dubravka has lost his head, but he's only lost his head because of absolute panic at the pace that Elanga showed in that Boxing Day game, and to cover for the lack of pace that not just Dan Burn has, but distinct lack of pace that Sven Botman has. I don't want to be too critical, but that first goal conceded was like watching two old men trying to run back. And I can see why Dubravka tried to come out, but he's made himself smaller by coming out. The rest of the game, let's talk about the goals. I mean, that first goal was fantastic. I think Miggy did his best to try and keep that one on the training ground by almost playing the pass a bit short to Kieran Trippier, but his hurried cross was outstanding. Right onto Bruno's right foot, and we've seen many a player in those positions fluff their lines, volley over the top, miss the ball. Not Bruno, he's too good for all that kind of thing. It was a fantastic finish. The second goal was a fantastic finish from Fabian Schär, a striker-like finish created by Sven Botman with the assist. And the third goal itself, like I said, was gift-wrapped in many ways, but it was his speed and awareness to nip in ahead of Morgan Gibbs-White and get the ball and then curl towards the bottom corner. It was just a fantastic performance. Cherish him because he's an unbelievable footballer. Through the rest of the team, always having merit. I don't need to go merit marks, do I? I'll just say who I thought played well, who didn't. I thought Dubravka was shaky as hell at times. Some good claims in the first half, but will definitely have to take that first goal on the chin for that rush of blood to the head, which I can, like I mentioned earlier, if you're watching, I can justify in many ways because he panicked because of the pace of Elanga and the real lack of pace in Botman and Burn. So yeah, he had a shaky one. Trippier, his quality comes. He got done a couple of times in the second half by Hudson-Odoi, who I don't massively rate as a footballer, to be fair. But I thought he had a decent game today and scored a decent goal, all deflected. The rest of the back four, I thought Schär carried an injury all the way through that second half and wasn't really the same player in the second half as he was in the first half. Botman, I thought, was very poor today. I thought he had a really, really difficult game. I think his performance was in many ways summed up by that direct ball from Matt Sells straight down the middle that he, first of all, didn't judge properly, then showed no pace, wasn't strong enough, and almost ended up in a goal. That it wasn't a penalty, by the way. Absolutely zero chance for me of that being a penalty. I didn't think it was. I didn't think that was a penalty. I think there was a lot of. I've seen a lot of people getting in touch saying that they thought it was, but it wasn't for me. I think the player goes into Dubravka, and I don't think Dubravka's intention, of course, is to bring the player down. As we have a little shout of "you Reds" from a Daffy somewhere. Dan Burn struggling against anybody with speed. I think it was his worst game today, but he needs taking out the firing line in situations like this, in my opinion. And the fact that Eddie Howe again went to 5 at the back to try and close the game out shows that the 4 and Burn as the left back isn't working. The fact he's having to change it and adjust things during the game shows it isn't working. And I'd just like to see him show a bit of bravery and do that from the start. Burn won his fair share of headers, and you can see why Howe selects him on that basis. That he's obviously a big towering presence in both boxes, but that's not the game. It's not the whole game. And for me, I think Livramento would be a much better option. You saw him linked up with Harvey Barnes when he came off the bench, and I think he's a real positive to come from this season. Probably the only positive really to come from the summer that was, which we've definitely discussed on the Geordie Journos in the past. Going through the rest of the team, I thought Miley started the game really well. He's only a 17-year-old lad, so I always find it really difficult to judge him against anybody else. But he's playing in the Premier League in a midfield and has to do a role which he isn't necessarily suited to, I believe. He was neat and tidy. He's very safe, a bit too safe, but you know, I can't imagine doing the role that he did at 17 and showing the composure to do that. Like I say, I thought he was a little bit poor for the first goal in terms of just his awareness of where to be and where not to be. Gibbs White almost outsmarted him a little bit. His body's position made it too easy for Gibbs White to start that attack that ended up with Alanga slotting past Dubravka. A lot of successful short passes, but I'd just like to see him show a little bit more bravery, and I'm sure as he gets older that will. Beside him, Sean Longstaff puts a shift in. He kind of fault his shift. I've very rarely criticised Sean Longstaff for that, but his quality on the ball today was massively below that he placed very short at the start of the season. But he's putting a shift in. But yeah, with the ball, he was poor. Bruno Guimaraes, as I said, was Newcastle its quality standout player. Look, he got caught on the ball a few times in the second half, but that is Bruno. He's always involved. He's always on the ball. He's always trying to make things happen, for better, for worse, whether the team's playing well or not. And I think that's, when you put those three together, the lack of speed and athleticism in that midfield, you can have one or two like that, but you need somebody else in there. And the lack of Joe Linton and Joe Willock makes a massive difference. They're just not the same. They lack that athleticism, and they come up against teams who are much more athletic than them, like Luton were last week, and they stand up like a sore thumb. It didn't show as much today. And like I say, I would say the second half was a bit more controlled than the first half. Once they weathered that early storm and once they got the goal, I think they showed a little bit of restraint and control. And although Forest had most of the shots in the second half, it didn't really feel like they were 100% knocking on the doors, as has been the case in many of these away games this season. The rest of the team, I thought Miggy Almiron had his 30th birthday today. Happy birthday, Miggy! But he certainly didn't put in. He didn't put in a great performance. I would argue that's probably one of the worst performances I've seen from him in his whole Newcastle career. I thought it was dreadful. Like I said, he did his best to try and leave that first goal, which was really well thought of and worked on the training ground, by almost playing the pass too short to Kieran Trippier. And his distribution with the ball beyond that, he gave the ball away every opportunity in that first half. I thought he was really poor. But we all have them. Everybody has the off days. Even the Geordie Journos from time to time have an off day. Callum Wilson ploughed a lone furrow up front, was asked to do a lot, but I didn't think his hold-up play was very good. Shame he got that injury at the end as well, which would be a big concern. Obviously Dom, who's one part of the Geordie Journos, and Jordan, the third part of the Geordie Journos. I say third part, there's no ranking in the Geordie Journos, we're all level, but the three of them two are down speaking to Eddie Howe at present, and hopefully we'll get some kind of update on what Callum Wilson did. And he kind of put his arm in a makeshift sling, having had a tussle with the centre half over there in the corner in front of the Newcastle United fans, and it didn't look great, being brutally honest. He held a couple up in the second half, but I wanted more from Callum Wilson, definitely. Anthony Gordon started the game quite well. I thought he was decent at first, linked up well, and he always puts a shift in, and he's always he was an outlet actually towards the end of the game, but it really wasn't one of his better performances. We've definitely seen much better in terms of quality from Anthony Gordon, but he is a constant nuisance and he's a quality player. So look, and I've gone through the team there, and there's been very few that I've said excellent. There hasn't really been a lot there, but Newcastle United walked away, got themselves up to 7th in the division by taking another 3 points on the road. Not an easy place to come. Yes, these are in and around the relegation spots again, much like they were last season, but there's not that many teams come here and walk over them, and Newcastle didn't today. It was a pretty even game, but they've come away with the 3 points, and really that's the biggest thing you can take from this game is the positive that 3 points is kind of all that matters in these things. I don't think Eddie Howe's team have answered many of the questions that we posed beforehand as fans and as journalists, and thinking about the issues in this team, but does that really matter? I think it looks like a season. It's potentially going to be a season full of these kind of questions, and I'm not sure that they have the answers, particularly when the numbers are low with regards injuries, etc. I'm kind of just wandering down the pitch side here before I go. But yeah, I'll jump in the comments and see what you guys have been having to say on the matter. Let's have a look what you guys say. Thanks for watching, and thanks for the comments. Sorry if you see my big gloves dropping in here. Let's have a look at the live chat. I'll scroll from the start. Geordie 2 for Life, our last name is live. Yes, as I mentioned it earlier on in this one, I've been a bit ill. I've had a chest infection, so I didn't go to Villa. Tested for COVID and all sorts. So really ill. I actually haven't felt that ill since I probably had COVID when it was around the first time round. But yeah, it was a really difficult one to get over. But we're finally back fit. I'm back and fit. Right. Curly and Mo must be speaking now how Bruno was outstanding today. Cheers, Geordie 2 for Life. Yes, they are. They're down doing the real work while I waffle on with you guys. Darren McKay, when will Howe learn, drop Burn, start Liverpool? Yeah, I think I think you're only saying something. I thought, I think it's something that most fans are saying, that they do really want to see Tino Livramento in the team. I think he's a more athletic version of a fullback, and I think it's hard to argue against what people are saying. Geordie 2 for Life, full credit to Gordon, giving us all despite his obvious ankle injury. Yeah, I thought he was limping about. I thought he did give it all. Anthony 88, thanks for your comment, mate. What a relief to have options on the bench. I think Mig really struggled, but having options on the bench feels like a luxury. Very happy to take the points and move on from the game today. Yeah, honestly, I think most people will be feeling exactly the same. It was nice to see him. I was quite surprised he didn't use Jacob Murphy, actually. I was expecting to see him come off the bench, so we don't know why that was. David Cook, great result. Midfield much better today, although Sean wasn't great. Miggy quiet. Not sure what a formation was. 3-2-4-1. Yeah, there was, like I said, there was a lot of tactical nuance in the way that Eddie Howe set them up today. Kieran Trippier dropping into midfield. Bruno pushing on. And Miley going deeper. The centre half spreading almost to a throw. At times, it was good to see, actually. I was quite pleased with that, and it worked for 20 minutes when Newcastle had real control, but then they really lost control after that Elanga first one. Lewis James Moore, thanks for your comment, mate. I think you could give Burn a canny race one-on-one at the Dome. I'm not. I think you, Lewis, you've seen me play and you've seen me run. I'm not really sure I'd even catch Dan Burn, but would certainly give it a go, wouldn't we, mate? Good, thanks for your comment. Geordie 2 for Life, Pope plays a super keeper, whereas Dubravka doesn't like coming out of his box. Yeah, he looked very uncomfortable coming out of his box, but he should have willing and wanted to do it today, but didn't really execute it. David Cook, their forward stood on Dubravka's hand and fell over. Yeah, I don't think it was a penalty. I know a lot of people are saying that, but it wasn't a penalty for me. Geordie 2 for Life, we 100% missed option. I'm Joe Linton, Willick, Tonali, which will protect our defence more than they do now. Yeah, I think they are missing options. Geordie 2 for Life, thanks. Look at yourself. Cheers, mate. Anthony Taylor, Tim C, thanks for your comment, mate. Anthony Taylor was dreadful today. Yates should have been booked, and Morgan Gibbs-White should have seen red. David Cook, glad you're better, Liam. We've missed you. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I've been a bit ill, but I'm back. We're back firing as a threesome on the Geordie Journos. Long may it continue. Mandy Pyle, just cannot wait for our midfield to come back. Lewis Mann just needs some time out. Yeah, I actually agree with that. I think it isn't great for a player to have to keep playing. And I think he probably does need a little bit of time out, so having those options would make a big difference. Don Pearson, a win is a win, but losing Pope is hurting us. No confidence we concede goals for fun since he's been out. That's absolutely correct. And fingers crossed those rumours that you hear about him potentially being back next month do come true. I would have concerns. He's injured that same shoulder twice, and I think they'll have to be careful with it, but I don't think Eddie Howe knows what careful and injury. I don't think those two words go together in his vocabulary. Tim C, what was the crack with Wilson at the end? Look like a head injury. I don't think it was a head injury. He put his arm in like a makeshift sling, so we'll wait and see. Maybe one of these guys will come up in a moment. Doesn't look like it. But Eddie Howe, I'm sure those quotes will be going out somewhere. Anthony 8, agree with you earlier. Comment about Anthony Taylor, only yards away from Yates, nearly smashing Shaw's ankle. He did left his foot in. I didn't think it was deliberate, actually, but when Shaw cut back, he did leave his foot in, and it could have ended up in a dangerous one. Chris Kerr, thanks for your comment. Without Burn, Newcastle would have lost today. Brilliant in there. Yeah, no, I've made that point earlier as well, that I think he won his fair share of headers, particularly in that second half when balls started going in, and that's, you can see that's why Eddie Howe likes him and puts him in his team as well as being a leader. Right, guys, thanks for your comment. I'm gonna, before my voice starts to crackle and fail and falter, I'm gonna come off here. 3 points, hard earned, more questions than answers probably, but all that matters is the 3 points. Newcastle climbed to 7th in the division, and the away day woes of earlier in the season are starting to become a bit more of a distant memory. So thanks, guys. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. I'll be on here with the other two of the three amigos, Dom Sker and Jordan Cronin, to do a little bit more of an analysis video, and we'll get that up as soon as possible. Thanks, guys.